Welcome to the Undiluted Corner, where truth is our refrain. Relationships, health, and wealth, we're breaking every chain. Grab a seat, join the talk. In this corner, we unite. The Undiluted Corner, where we shed the light in the Undiluted Corner. We explore the three relationships, health and wealth. Set the spirits free, tune and turn up. Let's embark on this ride, the Undiluted Corner, where perspectives coincide. From love's embrace to health, grace, and wealth in every form. In the Undiluted Corner, authenticity is the norm. We'll laugh, we'll learn, we'll share it all. In this lively space, join the conversation. Let's make life's journey a thrill and chase. This is the Undiluted Corner. Raw truth, real conversations.
Welcome to the Undiluted Corner. This is our fourth episode. On the Undiluted Corner tonight, the topic is, how do you preserve the value of your money? I am joined, as usual, by my erudite co-host, Andy.
Yes, I.
Here, man, blessings, wagwan.
We're there, family.
The school, man. And tonight we have our special guest, Mr. Ryan Strong, Mr. Investor himself, the money man, the vice president of GK Capital. Mr. Strong, how are you?
Hi, good man. Respect. Good to be here, you know?
Yeah, man. Welcome, Sir Strong. Blessings.
Great. Right. So before we delve into the topic, Andy, you can tell them how them can find up on the socials.
Yeah, man. So, guys, please reach out to us on Instagram. We are _undiluted_corner. On YouTube, we are the Undiluted Corner. And you can always, feel free to send us an email at the undilutedcorner, the number 7@gmail.com.
Also, we advise, when you go to YouTube, subscribe, like, and share. Hit the post notification bell.
Bing!
Yes, so every time when we drop a new release, a new episode, you don't know, you're the first to see it. Whether you see it, whether it come in 1 o'clock at night, whether it come in 12 o'clock a day. But just make sure it's ready. Yeah, man, just like that.
You're sure trying to have a big bell.
Which is right. Big bell.
But that one election time, with the bell.
Soon election time. All right, so Andy, we should ask Ryan.
Yeah, Ryan.
What caused the value of people money to decrease? What caused it to erode?
Oh, yeah, you start off firing. Well, the truth is, it's really one or two things. The price of goods and services going up, which is inflation, is one. Devaluation is another, especially depending on how the cost of the goods and services in question are derived. In other words, if the Jamaican dollar, for instance, went from 100 to 120, so you need more Jamaican to buy the same amount of US, and you have to buy US, or you have to buy your inputs that go into the product in the US to then send to Jamaica to manufacture the final thing, then that's going to cause erosion as well. So really, devaluation and inflation are the two things that tend to cause purchasing power to be eroded.
Yeah, I totally follow you.
Ryan is fine.
Sir Sean.
Yeah.
And you know what? Just for the simple man or the layman out there, I kind of want you, kind of expand on what is inflation.
Well, I mean, you guys said it best. If 10 years ago a loaf of bread cost $100 and today it's 1,000, then that's inflation in its simplest form.
Simplest form.
Yeah, I mean, if you go to a party and a bottle of Hennessy is, I don't know, or a bottle of boom.
It's not a drinking man.
or a boom is, whatever is $200 now was $50 when it came out. that's inflation in a nutshell.
So you would say it's basically the rate in which the rate of which goods and services rise
Absolutely. That's
in
right.
terms of price.
Yeah. So that's
Okay.
why you have, if you think back, the basket of goods. In other words, so
Mhm.
it's a number of ways. So you can say, all right, you have I don't know, you have bottled water, like 3 bottles of water, 2 loaves of bread, one whole chicken, can of cheese, 2 packs of crackers, 6 carrots,
Mhm.
2 cabbage, and that may be $1,000, right? You can use
Mhm.
Yeah.
that, the value of that basket then, and compare it to now, and it may say that same basket is now $3,000 to fill, right?
Mhm.
Or you can do where you take $1,000 and say, okay, I'm going to buy all of this, and you come back 3 years later, take the same thousand and see how much of what was in the first basket you can actually buy now. If you get what I'm saying.
Um, yeah.
Where the basket's going to be smaller with the passage of time, which is why inflation is so dangerous and it impacts the poor most of all.
Right. Very interesting that you said that.
Yeah.
Me not rich like you on this one. Boy, man like me know their class. Me need to learn how to preserve the value of my money.
All over there, class, boy. Just
It's a very
So
important.
Ryan, now, so what are the different well, before we even move to that, um can people use savings to preserve the value of their money?
No,
Suppose me save more.
no, because expenses will always name it out. That's the truth. One of the things in any economy anywhere in the world, what has been consistent is that things have gotten more expensive across the world. And this is not from I was born or you were born. This is from our parents or grandparents were born.
yeah.
Back in the day, you had houses that cost, I don't know, 50,000 Jamaican dollars, right? So I'm same house today, 40, 50 years later, probably go for 40 million, 80 million. Now, the question you have to
Mhm.
ask is, what was $50,000 in US dollar terms then versus no? Either way, it's still more. And I should add this, inflation is not always driven by, and this is why you have to be proactive in the management of your resources, because inflation is not always driven by local sources. If you have a war, which we do in other parts of the world, and oil supply is at risk, in other words, it costs more to go to the gas station, inevitably,
Mhm.
everything you buy is going to cost more.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So,
Scarcity.
Yeah.
exactly. And that's just the natural byproduct. You can't do anything to offset that because it's not our war, but we are trading with the people. At the same time, the world is so connected, you're not going to be able to produce every single thing in your own country, regardless of who you are. You're going to export, you're going to import. Because
Right.
if you think about it on even a climate basis, some crops will not grow well in Jamaica. So Jamaica has to go outside to import those inputs for consumption, right?
Correct.
And as a result of that, inflation is not something one can avoid. It's something one can try to manage. But for the average individual, they now have to try their best to see how they can combat it and protect their assets. And we all have assets. Whether it be a dollar, cash is an asset. Everything we have is your phone. I mean, it's not really an asset, but technically it is. It's just not a fixed asset. People think assets are just cars and houses and whatever, but it's a lot more than that.
Right. Right. So, in your best view,
Yeah.
Sir Strawn, what would you say would be some of those some of those avenues or vehicles that we could use to combat the inflation?
For the individual, it's hard. I'll tell you that, and I'll tell you why. Because to properly combat inflation? Well, here's the simplest one: make more money. That's the easiest one, right? Make more
Increase
money.
your income.
Yeah, the income. You get a job that pays more, then, and you keep your spending the same. Very important.
Yeah, yeah.
A job, you'll have a better balance in your books. The problem though is we start make more money, we start spend more. So instead of drinking white rum, or I think white rum and boom is called a special, instead of that,
Special, yeah.
Man change him conservative lady to a high maintenance lady now.
and go rum and go, whatever, 21 or all manner of things. Like you have more money, you start notice more things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ordinarily, if one is able to manage the expenditure, then that's the first one. And that's what I think many times is not appreciated enough. It's just to earn more money. Some people might say, oh, well, I need to get a second job. Some people might say need a better job. Some people might say they need to build on that side hustle or a hobby that they had. Some people might say, boy, may I go away. May I take vacation leave and go away for a month and work and make a little extra money, or start a little business or whatever the case may be, right? Number of things. In terms of investments though, you can have a bank account that they pay you 3% now. This is not basic stuff we're talking about. You can have, but there are other high yielding accounts that for the same risk and the same money give you a higher rate of return. It's just that not a lot of people necessarily know about them or care. So they miss out. So they get 3 or they get 1.5 when they could be getting 7. That will help make a little difference, right? The truth is, though, the only way to adequately combat inflation is to grow the size of what you have at a faster rate than inflation and devaluation.
Got you. Yeah, because even the point you mentioned a while ago, like the saving account, you're getting say 3% interest.
Right.
If inflation is 6%, then I mean you're pretty much just shaving off some of the inflation because you still will be affected by the inflation.
Absolutely.
Are negatively impacted by the inflation anyway. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
that's a danger.
as I was mentioning to Ali earlier as well, what I find is that we tend to we tend to try to obtain cash or obtain wealth, but not learning how to maintain and retain. So at the end of the day, yes, we're getting the cash flow coming in, but we are not financially literate to actually manage that cash flow. You get me? So even back to the point that you mentioned earlier, the income coming in, but then the expenses start to increase. So it's like it's a net zero or a net negative some of the time. You get me?
Yeah.
So on the point of financial literacy, I think it's a very key point as well. Even before you look at, say, all right, what I need to do in terms of how you need to manage the assets, but you need to actually have the knowledge first before you know that you go this investment or that investment or whatever the case may be.
Yes, no question. And it's something that is not to be rushed. I think if people understand what they're getting into, it can help. But the truth is, Jamaicans invest every day. We'll invest in partner draw, or we'll invest in, the shop. You'll have a little shop or a little stall, and you need to run it while you're gone work, or you'll do a little guard, whatever the case is. All manner of things you do. Your hustle suite, your whatever, right? In the office.
Yeah.
Do a very good job of that. I think where it may fall down in some cases, and those people do well, but two things happen. One, the people who do well don't say it because they don't want other people bad mind. That's a very important thing. The thing though is
that's a key point,
many times they don't drive towards formalizing what they're doing, so it just stays here. And because they're doing well enough, they get comfortable. And then what happens after that? It just starts to start ball about how much things cost. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I think
Yeah.
Jamaicans understand the concept of investing. It's just that sometimes the way it's presented is like this really complicated thing when it's not. Oh, another side hustle that's big now is like podcasting. Everybody's trying to do well at it, be monetized, find their own space, and create a business and a niche, and that's good. You know, it's to be welcome, and
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
that's
The undiluted corner.
of course, and that's why platforms such as the YouTubes and all of that transmit the services are, if you think about it, are actually a very good way of protecting one's investment because they are the platforms on which everybody is trying to pursue extraordinary earnings growth. So for an investor, perhaps looking at investing in YouTube may be something that could be a means of guarding against it in the medium term. Okay? It's not going to be overnight.
No, but yeah.
Sound good, sound good. So, Ryan, my brethren, so we know some of the most people familiar with some of the more popular investment vehicles, the stocks and the bonds and the real estate. But particularly with the stocks and the bonds, since those are things that after you put the money in it is not something that you physically can touch for a period of time until you decide to sell or buy or mature. You can just explain to people what is the difference between both stocks and bonds, and you can then delve into the advantage and disadvantage of both.
Right. Well, it's a very simple explanation. Stocks is really buying a piece of a company. Bonds are lending a company or a country money or a person or a group of persons money. And there are terms of repayments. For the bond, they may say it's 5% and half is paid. Well, half the interest is paid. So 2.5% is paid every 6 months, and it matures, you get back your principal in 5 years. That's straightforward. Stocks is owning a part of a business. And with stocks, the advantage is that I don't want to say, I'm very cautious of words like advantages and disadvantages because it can give the wrong impression. So everything in investment bears a risk. It's just like life. If you step out of your house, walk to work, there's a risk a bus can lick you over, you can trip, anything can happen. No, it's not very likely to happen, but it can happen, right? Similarly,
Likely if you have money at the home as well too, but less likely.
but it can still happen. A lot of
Yeah.
tripped in the shower, hit them head and dead, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Right. So those are the risks of just going about your daily business. It's no different with stock, right? You buy a business, you're taking on some of the risk of owning the business. You know that, but the risk is to the extent of how much you are exposed to your investment. What's the upside? I mean, the business can multiply and your stake remains a percentage of a much larger thing than what you bought. That's the clear upside, right? The downside, the business can go belly up or is sued, and when it wouldn't impact the shareholder anyway, it would impact the directors. Those are the real risk of the business ownership. Bonds, the same thing. The risk is you can't, the person that borrowed the money decide to not pay you back, and then you bridge some money and you have terms and him drop down dead, or him just say him just don't have it, or him so the money burn up and him can't pay you back. That's the risk.
So in layman terms, Ryan, so with the stocks, if you did invest, if somebody invests 10 grand in a stocks, let's say Honeybun, for example, and Honeybun grow by, let us say 40% over 3-year period.
Yeah.
that person would have made about 40,000 more.
4,000. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And 4,000, yes. 4,000 and the 10,000
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
that they would have invested.
Yeah.
And right. Okay, yeah man. So yeah man, cause I want to put it out there so the little peanut vendor can understand.
Mm-hmm. And
Right.
just kind of reiterate, it's 4 grand, Ali.
Yeah
Not
man.
40 grand.
Yeah man, 4 grand.
Yeah.
But the difference is that I want to tell you, it's funny you mentioned honey bun because somebody put 10,000 in honey bun when they went public in 2011. That 10,000 would be worth about, I shouldn't tell you. Probably it'll be worth more than 100,000 now.
Wow.
A lot more than that actually. I just pulling it up to see. It would have been. I don't know. It would have been significant because they went public at $1. No, it would be about 300,000 actually.
Okay.
Yeah. But you
Yeah,
see,
so that's why we bring the guru here.
Yeah, man. You can imagine you invest. No, but you can imagine you invest 10,000 and that 10,000 over, say 10 years or whichever
13
amount of years.
Yeah, go up to over
Up to
300,000.
over 300,000.
Staggering, man.
Not and that doesn't include you doing anything. You just put the money there for it to work for you.
correct.
Right. So broke and sweat.
So it's like we will buy products to resell, and we're not yet conditioned to think, wait, if people want this product so much, why don't I want to own a piece of the company that makes it?
Yeah.
It's like lady in the bus stop on Kalina Reynolds, in the bus park, Kalina Reynolds show. She was saying like she's been buying stock consistently every month for a number of years. This is the regular Jamaican woman. There's not nobody from no rich family or
I saw that video as well. Yeah, man, very inspiring, man.
Yeah, man. But she take her little money and buy. She's seeing growth. And nobody can say it's a lie because nobody forced her to come to that.
Yeah.
That's it.
Funny enough, what I was also looking at as well, Ali. Yeah, pressure me about the iPhone thing, brethren. So even on something like iPhones are, you get a new iPhone every year. The value, well, it fluctuates, but mostly going up. I mean, if somebody them have money and they want to buy some Apple product, instead of buying the product, actually buy the stock.
Yeah, man. Invest in a NASDAQ, man.
It's funny you said that as well because the iPhone came out. I've used that example before. The iPhone came out in 2008. How much iPhone now? $1,000, right? So let's say using inflation, it was $700 at the time. I'm just trying to pull up this chart. I like to talk real life stories.
Yeah, facts. Raw truth,
real conversation.
Yeah, somebody bought Apple in 2008 with $800, and it's no one's. They would now have check this, right? If you took iPhone money in 2008, that's $800. And say you bought Apple stock and you did nothing. That's 16 years ago.
For the same $800.
Right.
Right.
I hope you're sitting down. That would now be worth 662,320 US.
Wow. Impressive, man.
Not doing anything at all, eh?
No. Somebody left the money for you and you say, I like this Apple thing. I'm just like, forget about it.
Yeah, just put it down for work for you. Because the thing is, what I find is that a lot of times I don't think we understand the concept of, so trust me, we've been working for money so long.
Yeah.
It's like we forget the idea that money can actually work for us. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And that's the concept.
right, which is where we pretty much really need bridge.
Yeah, man, for real, because not for we come from in the country where you hear them say, boy, you know, you get some saving pan,
Yeah.
and you put some money in that, and you know, grandma have a little chis, and she stash her some money, and every time
Yeah.
it full, she go a bank and empty out a little thing, and boy, when she get her bank slip, she look to see what the interest rate, and sometimes she see a 2%, sometimes she a 3%, and she feel joyful. But the inflation pan bread alone would have move 12% in another year there. And egg prices would have go up, say, you know, say Christmas when she fi bake, she spend a whole heap more without even realizing, say, you know, say, me spend $1,000 more for bake than last year.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's in a sense like what underpins the whole thing of beating inflation is not so much immediate relief, which is important, because the truth is these things come and they go, right? Like circumstances change. You may be in a low inflation rate environment next year. We don't know. But the whole culture of, as I think you said it earlier, Andy, one of you said it, the whole culture of not, I think it's probably you, Andy, saying, of not feeling like one has to work for every dollar. Because many times it's like you're planting a tree, right? You will work, you'll gather the seed from somewhere, you plant it, and then it grows, and then it produces multiples of what you started with. That's really what investing is. Many times people they'll come to me and they'll say, oh, they want to invest because they want to offset some of the challenges they're having right now. All they're concerned with is right now. And I'm not saying that times cannot be hard. What I'm saying is you can't sacrifice the future of 15 years on the altar of right now. Because they're who I can tell you sold those same Apple shares for $2,000 and they never needed the money.
Yeah, what term you normally use?
Instant gratification.
Instant gratification. Yeah, man.
I
love that term.
You know what I mean? How you think they feel now? They're the lady who designed the logo for Nike, right? Got paid, I think at the time, $50 in Nike stock. And those stocks she never sold. Those stocks now worth more than $2 million US.
$50.
Yeah, or $80, whatever it is. Not that.
Crazy. Right. So Ryan, one of the school of thought out there, so I want your opinion on it, is that when it comes to stocks and bonds, so stocks is more for younger people because due to the fluctuations in the market, you have there's a greater possibility that if the market have a bust, you have a greater chance to recover. While with bonds now, if the company debt to profit ratio and everything is good, profit to debt ratio, all of that stuff, profit to earning ratio, if all of that is good, there's a greater possibility that all will work out well with the bond. So, you know, for persons who are getting on, like, you know, mid-40s, mid-50s, those persons should more look towards bonds. What is your opinion on that?
Well, if they want to be broke, then they can. Okay. The truth, there's a few misconceptions out there.
Yeah, man. Please address them.
That's why we bring the guru here.
The first one is that real estate will make you rich. I don't know any rich people who. I know a few people who made money from real estate, but they're exceptional. Most of the people I know in real estate were well off because of real estate. Were well off, and then they bought real estate. You figure what I'm saying?
Got you.
They never. It's not like you have a few cases where you buy a house and you're able to identify bargains, and then you have a natural gift for that, and that's fine. But that's not a lot of people. Okay. That's the first thing. The second thing is the entry point is a lot greater than it would be to buy stock. You can buy stock for the value of iPhone. You cannot buy a building for the value of an iPhone. Right? So in that respect, the floor of entry is already higher. Now,
I got you.
what we're saying now, we're talking about people speak about stocks and bonds as though the risks are somewhat separate, right? So Ali, you said that the company's ratios, and whoever says that obviously has a good idea what they're talking about, in the sense that you can tell as somebody who's either in the finance field or knows a lot about finance, the way you had put it forward to me, right? The risk, well, you had mentioned something about the company, if they're lending and, whatever. The risk associated with stocks and bonds are the same, right? If the stock market crashes for any reason that is legitimate, a lot of companies are going to suffer. And a lot of those companies and countries, like the USA in 2008 and others, offered bonds. So the bonds would be under pressure. Now, the reason why people take comfort in bonds is that they say, well, they don't mature for 10 years or whatever number of time. But if you think about it, if they were prepared to hold the stocks of good companies and not be concerned with the market price, just like they are with the bonds, I'm willing to bet that they would make multiples of what they would have made from the stock market from holding bonds. If they bought Apple, if they bought Nike in 2011 for $11, even though Nike has floundered, it's still $90 now. That's 100% in 13 years. Nothing. Real estate has delivered in US dollar terms. It's impossible. And then with the stock, you don't pay property tax, you don't pay interest, and you don't pay insurance. So your cost base is left. No, I'm not going to sit here and say stock is for everybody, nor is bonds for everybody, nor is real estate for everybody. What I want to do is to convey that the clarity, the true information, and the investor can decide according to their comfort. I bought stock for my mother in her retirement. Money tripled.
Okay.
But I did it because I know I have to take care of her just as she don't need me, but I would be doing that just out of responsibility.
Yeah, man.
Right. And
Yes,
she brought me here, right? So, but the point is, I did that for my mother when she retired. People would say, "What kind of fuck?" But the ease of it, the financial space it's created, has benefited her. So today she got Trans-Jamaica dividends. We're talking, and she said, "Boy, they paid him a pension twice, and I don't know how the government could make a mistake like that." This literally happened this afternoon. I was like, okay, I don't. And then I said to her before, because when I bought the stock, she never really knew what it was. And then I said, check your account on X date and see what this payment was. Because they paid dividend. She said, no, the 17th, she got something from Scotia, so she saw that. Then I said, well, what about the 24th of April? She looked and she said, wow. Oh, so she says, oh, this payment was actually my dividends from Trans-Jamaica and not a second pension payment. The point is,
okay.
it was so substantial.
Yes.
Got, she literally was going to go to NIS or whatever and say, oh, you guys made a mistake. I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
I want to tell you, Ryan, Trans-Jamaica is one of my pension stock,
Has to be.
Where may I hold on for dear life,
You're getting like 12, 13, 14% in dividend yields. And the price has doubled in the last year. Every time it's on the toll road, we should be giving thanks. No, I do.
Yes, man.
Okay.
So the point I'm making is the risks are aligned, right? But there's no less risk in stock than bonds. And the problem I think is people people sell a house and buy a bond with it. Right? Most people will not do that with the stock market. And I'm not saying they need to or they don't need to. But prices, there's never been a stock market crash that's never rebounded.
Gotcha.
US
Yeah,
market
man.
half during COVID, it fell in half in 2008, and it's above the level it was before it crashed in both instances.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So why are we worried about a stock market crash?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, even to kind of expand on your point, Ryan,
Yeah,
I find that when it comes on to investing, it has a lot to do with, as you mentioned earlier, opportunities and also your risk appetite. So, as you rightly say, stocks and bonds are probably not for everybody. But obviously there are other ways you can always invest, because again, if you have a very low appetite for risk, then you probably don't want to do the stock market. Probably you want something less risky. You know what I mean? So
right.
probably a little deposits or some account that provide like a very marginal rate of return. Then you probably lean towards that.
Yeah,
But yeah, just to kind of bring home the point that certain investment would be for certain type of persons depending on your risk appetite.
absolutely. I'll say this though: risk is reduced with time. So the longer you're prepared to hold something, is the less riskier it is.
Mm.
If you're prepared to
True.
hold for
That's
your
solid point, Denali.
Solid, man.
Yeah, man. That's solid point,
Right, true.
Ryan.
if you're prepared to hold something for your child until they turn 18, the risk is a lot different than if you want the money in a year.
All
You
right,
know,
so we're going to move to real estate now. Now, some people really love the real estate, because them say, it's like you're getting two for the price of one, where you can have a property, you rent it out, so you're generating some income from the rent, but also the value of the property is increasing. Yeah, man, give me your take on the whole real estate investment.
well, I like it. I like real estate. I have no issue with it. I think it gets a bad rap and it gets a good rap.
Mm-hmm.
The good rap is the stability of it. It's visible. I think,
Something you can touch.
Yeah, somewhere you can touch, somewhere
Angular,
you can see.
yeah. The bad rap is they only mention that. They don't mention if you have a tropical storm and three roof blow off, then you have three roof to fix. Or
Mm-hmm.
heavy rain,
Maintenance.
three roofs start leak. Or you have bad tenants and it's hell to get them out the yard and then decide they're going to threaten you or whatever. Or like no, where rental prices have been softening for the last 3 years. Or
Mm-hmm.
like when that major multinational left Jamaica and the upper end of the rental market fell a lot. So I think it's misrepresented because you don't get the full picture
Full
of all
picture, yeah.
involved.
Mm-hmm.
I
Got
think
you.
I don't have an issue with real estate. For me personally, Ryan Strong personally, I
Mm-hmm.
land as a better investment in a typical sense than buildings. Unless it's a commercial building. And then you have to get the building pretty below market value and ensure it's fully rented so then you can really get the real maximum output from it.
Return. Yeah.
My view, I think the rate of return of real estate should be so much higher before one goes in because the expenses associated with it are high as well. You have, as I said before, property tax, maintenance, insurance. You
Yeah.
have to pay those every year, right?
Yup,
No,
yup.
so I need 20% per annum on my real estate
Mm-hmm.
if I'm even going to think about it. And my preference is actually close to 30. Now,
Yeah.
land, if you think about land, people who bought, I heard a story yesterday about somebody who bought about an acre in Prospect, St. Thomas,
Mm-hmm.
a long time ago.
Now that they are away, Bill.
The person bought the
Away
land
making.
under $1 million Jamaican at the time. This is not the 80s. This is not the 90s. This is in the 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, now it's 20, 30 million, 40 million.
Prosperity we're talking about.
I like land as a whole thing, especially where you. So this is where strategy comes in. So if you see the government doing a road, chances are development is going to follow.
Right.
You know, so I think I prefer land, but that's my investing style. I don't believe in tying up all this cash in property because I know a lot of people that own a lot of property but can't cut your check for $1 million tomorrow because everything tied up. I don't know
Right,
if
it is not liquid.
Yeah,
Lack of
not
liquidity.
liquid.
yeah, so I don't think it's always productive, eh?
All right. So for persons who don't have big capital to get in real estate, how can they get a piece of the real estate pie?
Buy stock, buy stock. I think you should try to use cash to buy stock, and if you want to buy real estate trust, that's fine. But I think, you know what I actually recommend? People should take the money, invest it diligently, buy stock, and then at the point where it gets to a certain size, start to diversify away towards real estate.
Mm-hmm.
And that way, you will be able to have access. But I say to people, get rich, then buy real estate.
Yeah, so that was what I was actually going to say, because you mentioned it earlier that most of the persons better off in the real estate space would have been those persons who actually got to a position where they can actually afford it, but not trying to use real estate to get rich.
Correct. That's what I think.
Okay. Yeah, guys, I hope you guys listening because you're getting some vital.
Yeah, man, we're getting sauce.
But I mean, I tell you,
that type of sauce here, you don't get it at KFC, Burger King, Popeyes, or Wendy's. This is real
you getting
sauce.
it for free?
And you're getting it for free.
Yes, man.
No consultation. You're getting all of this sauce for free.
For free, man.
All right, so now we want to ask, a lot of people, Ryan, skeptical about life insurance because they say, boy, it is a scam. Because here what? You sign in for a plan that them say, all right, you pay 6,500. You're 25 years old and you're paying 6,500 and per month, of course. Yeah. And then, I mean, if anything happen to you, critical illness or death for that matter, you get a payout of 10 million.
Yeah, big food.
Yeah, big food. Yeah, man. But them says a big chopping happening because what if nothing happen to me for the next 35, 40 years and then me get a bad injury or something, that 10 million will not be valued what it would value if something not happen to me immediately. So they are saying if me not get a critical illness within a year or two, that 10 million will not be able to really help me out. So what is your perspective on life insurance?
Well, I think it's very important. Health issues can wipe out any investment portfolio. I think the coverage is essential. I think life insurance, I take the point about inflation. They do have some inflation protected plans. It's a very short answer. And the answer is this. The question is, suppose nothing happens to you when you get a lick in 35 years. The real question is, suppose something happens to you and you don't have it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's really all it comes down to.
Yep.
Are you an anything?
Yeah, man, chance.
I know of friends who got breast cancer in their 20s. Mm-hmm. I know of other friends, male, who had cancer in their 20s.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
So it's better to prepare and don't need than you need, but you're not prepared.
Absolutely. Better to have it and not need it than to need it
Yeah,
and not
man.
have it. You know. And
Yeah, man.
again, the payment should be within the context of one's budget, and it should
Agreed.
be reviewed every 10 years. So I got my first set at 29. I had one before, but I got annoyed with the agent and shuttered it. And I had another. I had one at 29.
Oh.
I
Mm.
lost. I lost my job, but I still kept up. And then at 39, I increased it in line with my, having family and married and whatever.
So as
So
the wealth increase, you increase
yeah, you have,
the
right?
mhm,
You have
mhm.
to, I mean, for me, I don't know if I'm gonna get any more because once you have, I've always wanted to have critical illness because I don't want to have to go and liquidate holdings to pay a bill of whatever size, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Or worry about hospital stay, and you can be in a jam one time. You may have money all over the place, you can't get to it. You may have, you just invest in something and then you tapped out and then you get sick. Where you going to?
But
So
then some people might say, why not just have a good health insurance coverage that would encompass things like dealing with critical illness
yeah, but
instead of dealing with this life insurance thing.
that's still well, remember, within life insurance you have critical illness,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not talking about life insurance in terms of when I die. I'm talking about critical illness when I live.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Life insurance is for when I'm gone and whomever need to bury me and whatever, and there's a payout to them. I'm not talking about that because that I believe in too, but that is secondary in my view to critical illness,
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
which I have, and there's some people who have health issues or pre-existing things that they have to pay a little bit more, but it's important. It's very, that peace of mind, you can't pay for that. And I mean, what swung it? A friend of mine died in a car crash and he wasn't insured. And I was toying with it, and I was in that young, wild, and free phase, and I said, no, so I'm all right. And then Virgin said, I was like, what?
You say you don't have not true. You say you don't have no youth yet, no dependence, not true. So what may I do with this?
You're 20-something, you're like, so why?
Yeah,
But
why? Yeah.
it makes sense. Makes a
Yeah,
lot of sense.
and even insurance on family members as well, because I mean you don't want the burden come down on anybody when any of those eventualities happen. You know what I mean? So you have your close family members, your parents or whatever. For me, I think it's also critical we have insurance on them, because
Yeah,
again you have your life focusing on, and you don't want some misfortunate situation occur, and then you have to deal with that, so it kind of derail you from dealing with your life, you know what I mean? So
absolutely.
having the insurance and your parents, I mean, we know this is not us wishing anybody or anything, but it's life and stuff happen. So we have to just prepare, as I mentioned earlier. It's better we prepare for it and don't need it. Well, we're going to need it because we have a pass.
Mm.
So, but we definitely need to make sure that stuff are prepared, stuff are in place. That's when things happen. Then we know I feel scrabble all over the place. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah,
It's
man.
just
And my final take on the life insurance thing, all I see it, is that outside of the whole health factor, it is also a tool that you can use to leverage as collateral when negotiating with
Place.
financial institutions.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have a business venture, or you're expanding your real estate portfolio or so. You can always use it to leverage it, always come in handy.
Mm-hmm.
So it can be used in multiple ways.
it's important for mortgages when buying real estate too. So it matters.
Yeah, man. Definitely.
It matters.
Definitely.
Yeah, man. So the other thing we're going to move to now, and I think this is the final thing we're going to touch on, Ryan. Pension. Now, most Jamaican, very passionate about them NIS, and say, boy, all right, NIS a draw out and me pay me a do a 9 to 5. And NIS a draw out and me pay, so by me a 65, me have something to rock back and lean pan,
Yeah.
But there is no other source of income, no pension plan or anything like that. What is your opinion on pensions? Should people be looking, as their children to say, all right, me have me 2-3 youth them already, them will support me in my all and thing, man. Yeah.
So them are investment plan.
Them are the investment plan, man.
Oh,
Yeah. So what's your take on this whole thing about setting up a retirement plan in terms of pension and so on?
you have to. Let me tell you, none of these things work in isolation. So you need to have your life insurance, your critical illness, your stocks. Well, I just call it liquid investments. Stocks, whether it's stocks or bonds, whatever someone wants. And you need to have your pension as well. So I was spending too much money, so I maximized my pension contribution a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It was very helpful that I did it. A man could say, boy, what you worry about? You're 30 years from retirement. What you think about that for? That time was very important, and it still is. And I have not adjusted the percentages. But you can't, nobody in the world will be able to retire on the pension alone. You have to have more. But because at the very least, you are making 25% a year because your deductions are tax-free.
Yes.
Yeah. Very importantly.
In that respect, you're already ahead of the game because you are already ahead of inflation and devaluation, especially in this Jamaica. Now, where combined, the two of them are under 10% a year. At one time, inflation, devaluation were more than 40% a year.
Yes, man. The sad 90s, eh?
Yes, sir. That eroded all wealth in the country, but for the very, very, very rich who could then afford to buy some of the properties that were cheap on offer and strengthen themselves further. So, all of what we have gone over would form part of an investment portfolio at different stages. So a pension is important, not just because it's what you're going to live off alone, but it will be a contributor to post-work income. That's really what it is. And
all right.
The discipline of it. So, and I can say this, if people approach their stock portfolios the same way they do a pension or a life insurance, where they say, listen, this is a 35-year investment. What do you think their future will look like when they're ready to retire?
Yeah. Much brighter.
Solid, man.
Yeah, man.
We are pulled down at least twice a year from dividends.
Yeah.
Coupled with your pension, coupled with the fact that, boy, you have 1 2-room rent out to some university students.
Yeah.
So holy that already,
But then contrast that now with the person who bought a big house early and retire and can't pay the property tax. So they must sell the whole
There you go.
Yeah.
And that's with good intentions. It's just that they weren't planning out, the finances were not planned out properly.
Yeah.
That's why people, even to buy the big house, you need to know what you're doing, because the big house, you spend 5% a year maintaining it. If the house is worth $1 million US, you are gonna spend $50,000 US a year on maintenance. That's before your mortgage, if you have one, and if you don't, you better have had 5 or 6 million in cash, because you should not spend more than 20% of your cash in any single asset.
Yeah, man.
Critical stuff, Ryan.
Solid advice, Ryan.
Yeah, man.
So before we close out, we can't have you here. We can't have such a esteemed fellow here and don't pick your brain. And we want to ask you at least, what are 3 industries right now that when you see the average Joe, young people, young man and woman on the street, 3 industries where if you have a little money right now, you would say, see these 3 industries, me would suggest, say, boy, you contemplate these to put your money.
Infrastructure, which is like roads specifically, roads. I suppose energy to a lesser extent, but roads,
Mm-hmm.
road/water/ drainage/ sewage, that kind of thing. Airport, that kind of thing, I would say is one. Another one I would say is food, for human beings.
Can't go wrong with the food,
Yeah, right. Food, man.
And then technology. That's a technology because it is a necessity. So whether it be you can buy Google shares, Google owns YouTube, they own Chrome, they own a ton of other they own Gmail, etc., all of which facilitate our living. We can't live without email anymore.
No.
Yeah.
We're on YouTube every day. You may even put your podcast on YouTube. I don't know, but the point is
That is a must.
that's it, right? So
Yeah, man.
infrastructure, food, and the technology are where it's at. Because all of them have some measure of guaranteed usage. If I text you, boy, I don't know, buying to retail, like stores, I've been misleading you because I can't tell you with certainty we are going to walk into stores and buy things in the next 5 years. I have not bought clothing in a store in probably 5 years, if not more.
Yeah.
I'm wearing slippers I bought the other day when I traveled, and it's the first time I've not bought anything physical in a store up to that point.
Okay.
Buy whatever, books, but not clothing. It's online.
Yeah. So that's kind of phasing out.
Yeah, consumption patterns have changed.
Yeah. And also even the style as well, because style is something where change ever so often. So if invest heavily in like fashion now, that when change say 6 months time, probably not the best use of money, right?
Yeah, it's a problem, and it's therefore my thing is to say to people, buy into what you know is gonna be here.
Yes, man.
12 years.
Yeah.
Food, road must there. Health people will get sick.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
Buy some stocks, buy some Image Plus.
Yeah. I mean,
elite.
There's one other thing I wanted to point out, Ryan, before we close. On the same pension plans. I think persons generally think that you only have to work 9 to 5 if you have a pension plan in place. I kind of want to clear up that misconception as well.
Right. No, you can contribute to a plan to an independent provider if you're not working. That's what you mean, right? Because
right. So even if you own a business, you still can be a part of a pension plan.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And that's important because, yes, you are limited to 10% of your income, don't get me wrong, but you have independent pension plan providers that offer the service. It's just to sign up with them and they'll do the monthly deductions. You just need to provide the information. They will do the check and then they can, get it done for you.
Got you.
Sound good.
Sounds great.
Solid advice, Ryan. Boy, conversation was great, man. It was very comprehensive,
Yeah, man.
We got more than what we asked for, more than what we bargained for. Boy, I don't know who are going to pay you. Boy,
I will pay me shares.
Yes, man. We're going to have the drinks at Jangas and the Domino's.
So what we need to do, Ali? We need to go public with the Undiluted Corner.
Yeah, man. We need to go
some
and make GK go public. Take it public.
Man, work it out. No question.
Yeah, man.
All right. So, Ryan, give thanks again.
Yeah, man. Much respect, Ryan.
Much respect.
Big up yourself.
Yeah, man.
Good to
And
be
Andy,
with you.
before you go out and leave with the socials again, how people can reach
Yeah,
you.
man. So, guys, again, reach out to us on Instagram. We're at the_undiluted_corner. At YouTube, we're at the Undiluted Corner, and our Gmail is the Undiluted Corner, the number 7 at gmail.com.
Raw truth, real conversations. Bless.
Yeah, man. Solid.
Solid.
Out.
Thanks for joining us in the Undiluted Corner, where insights abound and perspectives are born. Relationships, health, and wealth, we've explored them all. Until next time, let's continue to stand tall. Subscribe, share, and keep the conversation alive in the Undiluted Corner, where truth thrive until we meet again. Let's keep our hearts light. The Undiluted Corner, shining ever so bright.